You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Amidst an ongoing dispute with China in Ladakh, the government has called an all-party meeting. The meeting is currently underway as we speak. Well, this meeting is taking place after Defense Minister Rajnath Singh's statement in the Lok Sabha on the dispute with China. The statement has been made by the government in the parliament session, but there was a demand from the opposition to discuss the whole issue in granular details. The Congress had also protested in the Lok Sabha over the government's role. And in the Lok Sabha, Rajnath Singh said that the situation in Ladakh is serious. China is trying to change the current situation of the LAC, which is the line of actual control. Not only this, the defense minister gave all the information from April till now and said that India wants to resolve this dispute by negotiation. But the Indian army is ready if the situation changes or if any untoward contingency arises. We'll discuss this with some stakeholders and people who can lend us an exclusive perspective into what the all-party meet is going to yield and render. Joining me on the program is Major Muhammad Ali Shah, defense expert, Sumit Peer, political analyst, Group Captain Dr. V.N. Jha, IAF, defense and strategic analyst. We'll also have Brijesh Pandey, our political editor, joining us on the broadcast, and Sumit Dubey, my colleague, is also going to be filling and telling us what's going on. Right, let's cut across to Brijesh Pandey. Brijesh, a very important meeting. The parties have to be taken into confidence that what actually is happening at the LAC, not so much, Brijesh, for the sake of transparency, but there are experienced politicians, there are policymakers in this meeting who could perhaps come up with a suggestion or perhaps an angle that the Indian government at this point in time can utilize.
Well, Vineet, this particular meeting has been called by the government because they wanted to brief most of these senior leaders who belong to the upper house about the current situation which is there, minus, of course, the strategic details which are classified. The reason why the government is doing is what we have been given to understand is that there is a certain law, or there are certain rules which provides for the upper house to question the government's narrative, and the government is duty bound to issue clarification. So this particular meeting will be kind of exchanging the notes as far as the ground situation is concerned, and also assuaging the fear or solving the query if most of these senior leaders from opposition has by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because the government does not want itself to be embarrassed on the floor of the house. Yesterday we saw after Defence Minister's statement, the Congress party staged a walkout saying that despite this being such an important issue, the Prime Minister did not deem it important enough to be present in the house, nor the Defence Minister made the clarification which was required or wanted by the opposition party. So I think the government wants to avoid that embarrassment which they are duty bound to do in the upper house, and this is the reason why this particular meeting, which is an extremely important meeting, is taking place as we speak.
Absolutely. Brijesh, stay on with us. In fact, let me cut across to Muhammad Ali Shah. Muhammad Ali Shah, important to understand whether the defense minister has called out the meeting, or rather the situation to be of serious nature in Ladakh. What do you think is going to be the plan of the government in the next few days to come? Obviously, on the front of keeping our army deployed and our forces at alarm is something which the government has already done, but we are surrounded by enemies, not only from the north, but also towards the west.
Vineet, exactly. And, and 14 Corps, which is there in J&K, which is looking after the border of Pakistan, China, and also safeguarding our Siachen Glacier over there. They are the ones primarily looking after this. Now, what the government is going to do, I will tell you. What I feel, what my perception says, on August 5th last year, when we abrogated the Article 370 and 35 Alpha, since then we've had 71 civilians and 74 security personnel who have been martyred. I would say I would call them again martyred. Why? Because it is even the civilians, I would call them martyred, because it's the terrorists who are attacking them. Now, we have to play it again very, very strategically. But I still say that, abrogation of Article 370 has done a lot of good. It has brought down the casualties. They are now. Let's wait and see now what is going to be the next step now, Vineet.
Absolutely, absolutely. Important to see what the next step is going to be. We have some breaking news coming in as well. Right, breaking news. All right, breaking news coming in. Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, has arrived at Parliament, and the meeting on the LAC standoff against China is going to commence anytime soon. Group Captain V.N. Jha also with us on the broadcast. Group Captain Jha, this is an acknowledgement from the government, minus the strategic details, like Brajesh Pandey pointed out, to apprise the opposition of what went on for the last few months and what is the current status quo. But India's message to China is absolutely clear. Give back what has been ours and give it back quick, because we've had diplomatic rounds, we've had talks at the corps commander level as well, but nothing of yield or importance has been rendered.
Very much. Yesterday when this was going on in Parliament, we were here on your channel, and we said that defense minister spoke every word of his, absolutely weighed to the point, without any sort of aberration anywhere. And that was something which everyone has acknowledged. However, beyond that, many of us, we feel that, some questions, this is a very important issue. Some questions could have been allowed, and the answer, without the specific detail on the ground, could have also been given. But doesn't matter. The government had made a stand. So the speaker had made a stand that there is no question. There is no question to be asked. So that is how it is there. But today, when it is meeting there, I'm sure some amount of details, minus the tactical situation at the ground, will be told to them. And I'm sure the opposition also Indian. There are people, they will understand that this is a very difficult situation and we must combine together. And this is one opportunity, this all-party meeting, that I think Rajnath Singh should be there, and even PM should be there, if I am not mistaken. Everyone again will come together and understand that, yes, let us stand together in this moment of almost an emergency that we are in. However, the politicians of today, especially some in the opposition, have got a bit different thinking. They want to embarrass the government on every issue. There, we have to see how it goes further.
Absolutely, Sumit. The government, the current dispensation, is already occupied, already busy defending our borders and making sure that China, apart from what's happening at the LOC in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, are making sure that China stays at bay. It's a very wrong time to have any kind of a dissent, especially if you're trying to condescend the government.
I think, Vineet, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's a very important meeting because you have to see in the backdrop. Yesterday, Rajnath Singh ji made our stand very clear. We are for peace, we are for talks, but we are ready for any eventuality. The word is we are ready for any eventuality. So which means two things, Vineet, which means China alone or China plus Pakistan as a combo, because our military is very closely watching both the sides. So when we have said we are ready with all kinds of eventuality, what possibly is going to happen in the meeting today to the parliamentarians who are representing people, we have to give out some more details, because this is a paradigm shift the present dispensation has taken from the previous dispensations, wherein if you look at the international analysts now, when you look at the international media also, they have seen Xi's show has flopped. It's a failed aggression of Xi Jinping towards India. The fact remains we have put we put a spanner in their wheel of aggression. China is stood where it is. The PLA is failing. Today I was reading somewhere that PLA has started using loudspeakers to frighten our soldiers. Now is PLA a theater? What the hell is PLA up to? That is what Rajnath Singh ji is going to talk to the people, that look, we are all prepared to handle all the eventualities. And there is one very pertinent threat which all the intelligence communities of the world are talking. Xi is losing ground, PLA is losing ground, so they might come for one decisive push. Incidentally, yesterday, 4 air bases of Pakistan, we have seen Chinese planes parked there. So with these 4 air bases of Pakistan being engaged and Xi and PLA going for a decisive push, we have to be prepared. We have to take everybody on our side. That is what the Honorable Prime Minister said yesterday. Today, all members of parliament must unanimously say we stand with the soldiers at the border. Not only members of parliament, we need you, me, all 1.35 billion Indians have to have a firm resolve. We back each and all of our Jawan or the officer at the LAC or LOC. We are with them. Not an inch of land can be taken by China or Pakistan or this combo together. The time to defeat them and to set them, set their bluff free has come. We have to defend our land and we are defending it. We are proud of our armed forces. This is no time for politics, sir. With these kind of situations, you can be updated, you can be told what is happening. But if somebody wants to play politics, that is demeaning the country. That will be demoralizing the forces and that will be insulting the collective intellect and the support of 1.35 billion Indians to our armed forces. Politics ki koi jagah nahi hai. There's only one thing. We stand with our forces. India is one who will defend our motherland at any cost. There's no question of any debate on this because the people on the ground are facing a life and death situation and they are holding firm for 5 months. We have stopped China and Vineet, there was one thing, that China is a very powerful force, this unequal force paradigm that has been shattered. So PLA being a very powerful army, PLA being an unequal force to us, they're being very robust and strong, that is shattered. And what I'm happy, it's not us, you and me, even all the international analysts and media is now coming up in public domain and talking about it. There are articles, there are shows going around in the world, which is a very good news and which is success to our defense minister, our prime minister, our external affairs minister and our CDS, General Vipin Rawat, who's an outstanding officer, and not to mention every large Jawan standing with a gun and doing his duty there. We are all proud of them, Vineet. This is the moment. This is the moment we told China, whatever you have been doing for 70 years cannot happen anymore. Ab nahi. Bahut ho chuka, ab nahi. Aap jahan wahan rahiye.
Absolutely. And Rajesh, the entire idea, the entire motivation behind having this all-party meet is to take everyone along when it comes to the defense and when it comes to a predicament which stands at the borders against China. But at the same time, political parties must also ensure that nitpicking and picking on some of the responses that have been furnished by the government in the past is not going to deter China. It's not going to make the thing that's standing at the LAC any easier.
Well, I think, we have to understand one thing very clearly that, whatever political parties, irrespective of being one in the government or, the opposition says is going to have any kind of bearing in India's fight against China, or will it demoralizes the armed forces? Because, everybody is smart enough to remember what, party which are in opposition says, and when the same party goes come into power, their stand changes completely. So I don't think it is going to be demoralizing either for armed forces or it will be send a message which will be like, which will put India in a very bad spot of bother and all. That's pure politics and everybody knows about it. So I honestly don't think anybody losing their sleep about it. There have been thousands of examples when the ruling dispensation, when they were in opposition, they had taken the government of the day to task, as the Congress party have been saying, and so on. So has been the Congress party when they were in power was saying something else, and when they were in opposition, they had taken an extremely critical stance. So that is not going to be of much importance as far as the message which we are sending either to our Jawans or to China, because everybody knows how politics work. The second part is that yes, the government would want to save them any kind of embarrassment by questions which the defense minister might not answer, and B, the government would want that before such situation arises in the upper house, as any smart government would do, they have invited all the top leaders of the floor of the house from all the parties, and the prime minister is likely to brief them to the extent possible where it is whether he can brief them without divulging any kind of secret whatsoever. And the reason why this is done is that to make sure that everybody is on the same page and nobody wants to take a very cheap political advantage out of it once the defense minister goes on to make a statement about the LAC situation tomorrow or max to max day after tomorrow in the upper house. So I think the message is very, very clear, and all these kind of things that what opposition is saying, whether it's going to be demoralizing to the Jawans and all, I don't think anybody who's posted there for such a long time is going to be demoralized just because say an opposition party or XYZ is saying something which runs counter to the narrative.
Absolutely. Mohammad Ali Shah, you have fought at the borders, you have defended the country, and winter is upon us. And we realize that fighting during the winters, both for China and India, is not going to be an easy affair. The most prudent thing for either side to do at this point in time would be to negotiate, and renegotiate, but not go to war. It's not that we don't want to fight or we can't fight, but obviously pick the option that, in fact, it decreases the chances of loss of life.
Absolutely, Vineet. The whole purpose of war, the whole objective of war, ultimately is peace. That's irony. When the entire purpose of war
Very well.
is when the entire purpose of war is peace, then why would one go for war? Again to be thought of. Now, in War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, on page number 56, paragraph 4, he has mentioned being peaceful is better than being right. So again, it comes to peace. All Chinese authors, they have all talked about breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. But now China has a very big weapon which we do not have. And I would say, fortunately, we do not have. I will not say unfortunately. And which weapon is that? I will tell you. It's a weapon of lies, psychological warfare. They are experts at that. We are a very honest nation. Now, winters are fast approaching, but let me tell you, our soldiers are very well prepared. Let me tell you, Vineet, there was a WhatsApp message, I can forward it to you, of our soldiers playing kabaddi in snowfall for the recreation. Can you beat that? I can challenge Chinese soldiers doing something like that. No. But, our equipment, our tentage, our winter clothing, everything is up to the mark. And in fact, our budgets for the border have been doubled. Just yesterday, we heard the defense minister speak in a very crisp, to the point, apt manner, very befitting of a defense minister. And that was very encouraging for the morale of our troops. Apart from our combatant arms, our Army Supply Corps, Army Ordnance Corps, Army Medical Corps, the engineering, the EME, the signals, everyone is ready for any eventuality, be it winters, be it fighting in high altitudes. It is China which is at a disadvantage. So they should be the one who should be fearing us. We are very sure, we are very confident. But yes, as I said earlier, we do not have the weapon which China has got, which is the weapon of lies. And thankfully, thank God for that.
Absolutely. Well articulated over there, Major Mohammad Ali Shah. Group Captain Jha, there are two facets. In fact, I'm taking a leaf out of what Mohammad Ali Shah said, that there are two aspects to this entire scenario. One is, the actualities, the status quo as it prevails today. And the other is the hybrid warfare intentions of China. Bad publicity, pushing misinformation through global times, and trying to, in fact, put the blame on India. That's exactly what they have done. We, as a maturer nation than China, have to find a balance, a line, which not only us, but the entire world can walk on, because the last time, in fact, we heard from the world, they all wanted to decouple from China.
Very much. See, this is the need of the hour. At times, we feel very absurd because every now and then we hear the Chinese comments coming onto the international platform, and I find these comments as such on various international channels. I feel Indian diplomacy is doing very well. Dr. Jaishankar himself has been very good manipulator, but as a minister, I think somewhere you have to have a diplomacy which have the flexibility to be offensive diplomatic at times. And if you have to name and shame China at these hours on the specific things where China have defaulted, I think there is no harm into this. Secondly, the diplomatic shaming of China, it may not be in many words, but still I wonder, or not only I, many of us we wonder, what prevents us from at least speaking a word against one China? What stops us from highlighting the plights of the minorities in Tibet and the Xinjiang? What stops us from talking, at least engaging some diplomatic interaction with Taiwan? All this defies us. Why it is not happening?
Absolutely.
Because and secondly, I'll say, what Ali was telling you just now, from the military stand-off point of view, this time, this is not 1962, we are well off. We have got winter clothing which can keep the troops almost in the high morale at any given time. That is one. Secondly, in the 62, we lost more soldiers because of the high altitude sickness than those who died by the bullets. This time, we have addressed all the issues of the high altitude sickness, whether it is mountain sickness, high altitude pulmonary edema, high altitude cerebral edema.
Let
All
me
these.
let me just ask you to hold on to that thought, sir. In fact, let me Sumit Dubey, who's joining us on the broadcast as well. Sumit has been keeping a very keen and close eye on the developments at the back of this development. Sumit, an all-party meeting, which is going to be, of course, chaired by the government and the defense minister. This is going to be an opportunity to apprise them of the situation as it exists at the LAC and what the plans of the government are.
Yeah, definitely, Vineet, and the meeting is on in the Parliament Annex C, where all the floor managers of all the parties from Rajya Sabha. Remember the fact that this is a meeting of the leader of Rajya Sabha, or all the floor managers of Rajya Sabha, from Congress Party, the leader
Sumit,
of opposition
if you can hear
Ghulam
me?
Nabi Azad and deputy leader of the Congress Party in Rajya Sabha Anand Sharma are participating. And yeah, am I audible?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so meeting is on, Vineet, and the fact is that yesterday when Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, gave a suo motu statement in the Lok Sabha, that was the time where Congress Party demanded a clarification, but there was no rule in Lok Sabha which bounds Minister to give any kind of clarification. But in Rajya Sabha, where Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is going to put his statement over the issue of Chinese border standoff with China, there is a rule in Rajya Sabha which bound the minister to give the clarification. So that is the point where government wants to convince the opposition parties and to tell them fact that there are certain issues, certain sensitive issues, certain sensitive informations which government cannot divulge at the floor of the house. That's why, for the smooth sailing of Rajnath Singh's statement in Rajya Sabha tomorrow, the government has called this informal meeting with the floor managers from all the parties in the Rajya Sabha. So what the information that we are getting, that the government would definitely, especially the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, would apprise the leader from the opposition parties in the Rajya Sabha about the situation, so that when tomorrow when he is going to make any kind of statement, no ruckus would take place in Rajya Sabha, and a message of unity would go out to the world. So that is these are the efforts of the government. That's why they have called this all-party meeting of Rajya Sabha leaders in the parliament today, which is going on.
Absolutely. And Sumit, just let's get quick comments from everybody. In fact, after Sumit, we'll go back to Brajesh Pandey. Where do you see the situation going from here, Sumit? We already know about our prowess. We already know how capable the Indian defense forces are to take on any challenge. But at this point in time, is there an urgent need for de-escalation or otherwise?
I think we need, first of all, we did not go and invade anybody's land in last 100 years or maybe 500 years. But if somebody keeps an eye on our land, it is very sure his soul will be relieved from the body. That is a very clear message we have to send to anybody else, right? What did the Honorable Prime Minister say when he went to Ladakh? That surprised me. He said that, we worship Lord Krishna, who plays the flute, which is the symbol of peace. But the same Lord Krishna carries also the Sudarshan Chakra, which is the ultimate weapon. It was a very clear and explicit message to India. We are for peace. But if you try to eye our land, you will be decimated. And now even the Sri Krishna says in Gita, for everlasting peace, at times you have to fight to keep your sovereignty, to keep your land, to keep your pride. If you have to even take a war, you will have to take a war. It's not a question of do we want de-escalation or not. We are all for peace. But we also have the Sudarshan Chakra, that is the Indian army. If anybody thinks he can come and take an inch of our land, he is sadly mistaken. If even this combo thinks they can come and take an inch of our land, they are sadly mistaken, Vineet. And this Gita ka Gyan is 10,000 years old or maybe much more than that. And we have given this message to our enemies by nobody less than the Honorable Prime Minister from the peaks of Ladakh. Who else were we addressing? Were we addressing Afghanistan or Kazakhstan? No. We were addressing China. PM was there to give a message, and yesterday Rajnath Singh ji said, we are prepared to handle any eventuality. We are repeating our message. Dr. Jaishankar is doing what he can do. But if you have an evil intention of our land, which China has, because they believe in expansionism, they believe in taking others' land. But we need, unfortunately, they think we are, as Kazakhstan, where they can claim 45% of the land. Forget 45% of the land. You cannot even take 4.5 inches of our land. That day will never come. This is not 62. And what Jasab rightly said, we are acclimatized. We have tents, we have army, we have very high morale. You have a general who has not fought for 40 years. You got a bloody nose 60 years back in Vietnam, and you want to come and take India. You want to take our north. You want to show us your military might. Your PLA, we need is what is a PLA? Not People's Liberation Army. It is I have a name for it. This PLA is propaganda league of the Chinese, propaganda lobby of the Chinese. Their job is military propaganda, not fight. PLA is not designed to fight.
And Sumit,
military propaganda which has been called off.
Sumit, there is one word that perhaps one country rather, whose name can sum up the exuberance that can be enjoyed while dealing with China at the border, and that is Vietnam. How a country has taken on China, even the United States in the Vietnam War, and showed them that you do not necessarily need high-profile weaponry. All you need is an iron will and perhaps some support from the government and people. And that's something that the Indian Army definitely always has. And on that note, we slip into a short break. Be right back. And thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.